What's going on, Guardians? It's Tizzle here. In this video, we'll be looking at the changes to Graviton Forfeit. Before the buff to this exotic, it stated that it increases the duration of invisibility effects. Your melee recharges faster while you are invisible. In the TWAB covering exotics, Bungie stated that they were increasing the bonus invisibility duration. The melee regeneration speed now increases based on the number of enemies near you. While you are invisible, recovery is greatly increased, and your weapons reload more quickly. So that we have a baseline for how it worked before, we will be breaking this down in 3 steps. First, we will look at how long the invisibility lasts without this exotic on. Then we will look at invisibility durations with the helmet on before the buff. And lastly, we will look at the invisibility durations after the buff. We will start with Top Tree Night Stalker, which has the dodge to go invis. Without the helmet, you are invisible for 5 seconds. Sadly, my editing software is acting up and I cannot stop my timer. But I went through it frame by frame, and your invis stops exactly 5 seconds after you cast dodge. Next, we have Flawless Execution without the helmet. The timer on the left says 9 seconds, but the timer on screen shows about 8.57 seconds of invisibility. Lastly, we have Bottom Tree Night Stalker. Without the mask, our Vanish and Smoke timer shows 7 seconds. The timer on screen shows about 7.08 seconds. Now that we have a baseline, let us look at the numbers before the buff. Once again, we'll start with Top Tree. This time, when we dodge with the helmet on, we are invisible for 6 seconds, so it only adds 1 second of invisibility duration for the Top Tree dodge. You can also see the melee energy recharging quite a bit faster. Next, we have Flawless Execution on Metal Tree with the helmet on. The timer on the left shows 12 seconds, but once again, it is about half a second short of that at 11.55 seconds. So the helmet on this tree, before the buff, grants 3 extra seconds of invisibility. Lastly, we have Bottom Tree. The timer on the left says 8 seconds, but the frame by frame breakdown shows about 9.05 seconds. So the helmet on this tree adds a 2-second bonus. What is cool about this is if you put double perpetuation mods on your cloak, you can almost have your dodge back in time to dodge again to get your melee back. So the buff should put this over the edge and allow you to chain invis. I will do side by side comparisons of the 3 trees now before going on to the buff helmet. So now let us look at the Graviton Forfeit after the buff. The wording on the exotic is now slightly different. It states increases the duration of any invisibility effects. While you are invisible, your melee recharges faster, your weapons reload faster, and your recovery is greatly increased. So let us once again have a look at the numbers with the helmet on. I'm running double perpetuation on my cloak as well as 100 mobility for the fastest dodge cooldown possible. On Top Tree, the dodge for invisibility lasts for about 6.9 seconds, so now it is a 2-second invisibility buff instead of a 1-second invisibility buff. Next up, we have the Middle Tree, Flawless Execution. This buff shows 15 seconds on the left when we have the helmet on, whereas the timer is only 9 seconds without the helmet. And previously with the helmet on, it was a 12-second buff on the timer. So this one went from a 3-second buff to a 6-second buff. Lastly, let us look at bottom tree. The Vanish and Smoke buff on the left says 11 seconds, whereas before the timer with the helmet says 8 seconds, but it was really 9 seconds. This is normal, as sometimes the 0 on the timer still counts, so it essentially adds another second. So it appears we are getting a 2-second buff from before. Without the helmet, it was a 7-second timer, which means it would have gone from a 2-second buff to a 4-second buff, which honestly makes perfect sense. They essentially added 1 extra second to the top tree dodge, taking it from 1 extra second of invisibility to 2 extra seconds to the bottom tree melee invis, which took it from a 2-second bonus to a 4-second bonus, and flawless execution, they went from a 3-second bonus to a 6-second bonus. So they essentially doubled the invisibility buff for each tree, which is pretty cool. And that melee regeneration is no joke. As you can see in the background gameplay, I can get my melee back before I even get my dodge back. And with the 100 mobility and perpetuation mods on your cloak, you can literally stay invis long enough to get your dodge back, gambler's dodge for a melee, and go invis again. Or, if you are surrounded by enough enemies, you can get your melee back all on its own, just thanks to the increased melee regeneration. One last thing I wanted to take a look at was Rat King. I don't have before footage because I just thought of it now, but the exotic perk specifically states any invisibility effects. So let's test that out. To really emphasize if it works or not, I swapped off the Night Stalker subclass. I then get a kill with the Rat King without the helmet on, and my invisibility lasts for just under 6 seconds. I then throw on the Graviton Forfeit and do the same thing, and it lasts for just under 10 seconds. So it does work. Very cool. But that is going to do it for the video. If this video helped you out, then a like would be greatly appreciated. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, feel free to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss any new videos. Take care, Guardians.